The 2025 NBA free agency period kicking off on June 30th with the salary cap set at $154.647 million for the 2025-26 season promised a whirlwind of blockbuster deals, savvy signings, and inevitably some head-scratching contracts. While some teams made shrewd moves to bolster their rosters, others dove headfirst into financial quagmires that could haunt them for years. From overpaying for potential to tying up cap space with dead weight, here's a deep dive into the 7 worst contracts of the 2025 offseason, headlined by a Milwaukee Bucks blunder that's already sparking debates across the league. Buckle up, this is going to be a wild ride through the NBA's financial missteps. 1. Milwaukee Bucks costly gamble. Miles Turner's 4-year, $107 million deal. Let's start with the elephant in the room, or rather, the deer in the headlights. The Milwaukee Bucks made waves in free agency by signing Miles Turner, formerly of the Indiana Pacers, to a 4-year, $107 million contract. To make room for Turner's hefty deal, the Bucks pulled off the largest wave and stretch in NBA history, cutting ties with 9-time All-Star Damian Lillard and stretching his remaining $113 million contract into a $22.5 million annual cap hit through 2030. That's right, Milwaukee is paying Lillard over $22 million a year not to play for them, all to secure a center who, while solid, isn't exactly a game changer. Turner, fresh off helping the Pacers reach the 2025 NBA Finals, is a reliable rim protector and floor spacing big, averaging 17 points and 7 rebounds last season with a knack for blocking shots. But at 29, he's not the transformative force Milwaukee needs to vault back into championship contention, especially with Tyrese Halliburton's injury dimming Indiana's threat and the Bucks' own roster still lacking depth. The move was meant to keep Giannis Antetokounmpo happy, but saddling the cap with Lillard's dead money while committing $26.75 million annually to a pretty close to average starting center feels like a panic move. If Giannis bolts, this deal could be the albatross that sinks Milwaukee's rebuild. 2. Phoenix Suns lingering nightmare. Bradley Beal's buyout fallout. The Phoenix Suns thought they'd escape their self-inflicted nightmare by buying out Bradley Beal's contract, once dubbed the NBA's worst, but the ripple effects of his deal linger like a bad hangover. Beal, owed $111 million, agreed to a buyout that allowed him to sign a 2-year, $11 million deal with the LA Clippers. However, the Suns are still on the hook for a significant portion of his original contract, with a potential stretch provision adding a $13.9 million cap hit over 5 years if they choose that route. Beal's tenure in Phoenix was a disaster. His no-trade clause limited their options, and his injury-riddled play didn't justify the $50 million plus annual salary. The buyout was a necessary evil, but it doesn't erase the fact that Phoenix's cap is still hamstrung, limiting their ability to rebuild around Devin Booker's record-breaking extension. The Suns' Big Three experiment with Beal, Kevin Durant, now traded to Houston, and Booker was a cautionary tale of chasing star power over fit, and they're still paying the price. 3. Charlotte Hornets roster jam. Pat Connaughton's $9 million guarantee. The Charlotte Hornets, in a puzzling salary-related move, acquired Pat Connaughton from the Bucks, only to face the possibility of waiving his $9 million guaranteed contract for 2025-26. This deal, inherited during a roster shuffle that saw Charlotte take on multiple guaranteed contracts, creates a logjam with 10 players already under contract, plus 4 draft picks and 3 non-guaranteed deals. Connaughton, a hustle-heavy wing with a decent 3-point shot, isn't a bad player, but his fit on a rebuilding Hornets team is questionable. At 32, he's not a cornerstone for their future, and his contract eats up valuable cap space that could have been used to pursue younger talent or absorb bad contracts for draft picks. Charlotte's front office seems to be playing 4D chess with no clear endgame, and Connaughton's deal is a head-scratcher that could be cut loose before it even takes root. 4. Chicago Bulls hesitation. Josh Giddey's $30 million demand. Josh Giddey, the young Australian playmaker, entered restricted free agency seeking a $30 million annual deal, but the Chicago Bulls played hardball, leveraging the lack of cap space league-wide to hold off on a big extension. While no deal has been finalized, Giddey's camp and the Bulls are reportedly in positive talks, but the expectation of a $30 million contract looms large as a potential overpay. Giddey's a gifted passer with a knack for creating offense, but his inconsistent shooting and defensive lapses make $30 million a year a risky bet. His 22 points, 5 rebounds, and 4 assists per game with the Sixers after a midseason trade from Dallas showed promise, but a small sample size, 28 games, doesn't justify top-tier money. 5. Memphis Grizzlies' questionable depth. Ty Jerome's 3-year deal. The Memphis Grizzlies, fresh off re-signing Santi Aldama and Jock Landale, added Ty Jerome to a 3-year contract that's raised eyebrows. While the exact figures haven't been disclosed, the deal is seen as an overpay for a backup guard whose role is murky on a team already stacked with guards like Ja Morant and Marcus Smart. Jerome, a solid shooter and playmaker, has never been more than a rotational piece, and his injury history doesn't inspire confidence. The Grizzlies focus on locking up Jaren Jackson Jr. to a 5-year, $240 million extension was the right move, but throwing money at a fringe player like Jerome feels like a misallocation of resources, especially when Memphis needs wing depth to compete in the West. 6. Houston Rockets' risky bet. Dorian Finney-Smith's new deal. The Houston Rockets, after landing Kevin Durant in a blockbuster trade, signed the Dorian Finney-Smith to a new contract that's drawn skepticism. While Finney-Smith is a versatile 3-and-D wing, his deal, reportedly in the $15 to $20 million annual range, feels steep for a player who's more of a complementary piece than a star. Finney-Smith's defensive tenacity and 38% three-point shooting are valuable, but Houston's already crowded wing rotation, with Jalen Green and Dillon Brooks, makes this signing feel redundant. The Rockets are betting on his fit with Durant, but overpaying for a role player while navigating the luxury tax could limit their flexibility to add the final pieces for a title run. This contract isn't catastrophic, but it's a gamble that could backfire if Finney-Smith doesn't elevate his game. 7. Dallas Mavericks' short-term pain. D'Angelo Russell's 2-year deal. The Dallas Mavericks, looking to bolster their backcourt, signed D'Angelo Russell to a 2-year deal that's already being questioned. Russell, a talented scorer and playmaker, has a history of inconsistent defense and questionable shot selection, making his fit alongside Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving a head-scratcher. While the contract's short length mitigates some risk, the estimated $10 to $12 million annual salary eats into Dallas' cap space without addressing their need for a true defensive stopper or rim protecting big. Russell's ability to get buckets from the mid-range and beyond is undeniable, but his playoff struggles and redundant skill set make this a deal that could look worse if the Mavericks flame out early in 2026. Final thoughts: a summer of missteps. The 2025 NBA free agency period has been a roller coaster of bold moves and baffling decisions. The Bucks' decision to prioritize Miles Turner over Damian Lillard stands out as the summer's most egregious blunder, but they're not alone in their financial folly. From Phoenix's lingering Beal burden to Charlotte's roster mismanagement, these contracts highlight the fine line between ambition and recklessness in the NBA's high-stakes market. As the 2025 to 26 season approaches, these teams will face the consequences of their choices, some sooner than others. Stay tuned, because the fallout from these deals is sure to make for a dramatic season. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe to this channel for more content. Thank you.